Never ever mooch off free Wi-Fi in public places, or you might not even realize what happened when the balance in your phone account gets swiped clean. This is the ultimate black tech created by the top hacker Roland. It looks like a smartphone, but in reality, it's a digital black hole. It can intercept all digital data from no more than 2 people, including the account information of those using public Wi-Fi and the pins of customers using credit cards at gas stations. Let's take a look at how the Revenge Squad used this receiver to successfully steal a priceless Scylla data card. After hours of stakeout, they finally saw the cardholder Stuart's car leaving the villa. Following closely, Sucre overtook on a bend and abruptly stopped in front of him.
Good luck.
Sucre took the receiver, then he got into a fiercely strong argument in Spanish. The driver was dumbfounded, having never in his life encountered someone so unreasonable yet so full of confidence. However, Roland didn't detect any signal from Scylla. Thinking it was not close enough, Sucre tried to get closer to Stuart inside the car, but the screen still showed no response.
Try to get closer to him.
If he was any closer, he'd be in the car.
I get you, little act, Pedro. Hit the brakes, let the rich guy pay for damage you don't intend to fix.
Just give the man some money so we can leave.
The first attempt ended in failure, but at least they got a crucial piece of information. Stuart didn't carry the data card on him but had hidden it at home. But Stuart's home was heavily guarded by security personnel. Not even a fly could get in, let alone sneak in to copy the data card. Just when things seemed at a deadlock again, Michael, who was staking out near the villa, noticed that besides Stuart, only a housekeeper could freely enter and exit the villa. But how could they make the housekeeper work for them? Michael came up with an idea. The next day, he had Sarah deliberately strike up a conversation with the housekeeper at the bus station. Sarah complimented the housekeeper's handbag, asking if she could feel its texture. The housekeeper, being very friendly, handed over her bag, not noticing a smartphone slipping out from Sarah's folded newspaper. When it was time for work and the housekeeper walked into Stuart's home, Michael immediately called her, not giving her a second to put down her backpack. Claiming to be a security company employee, he asked her to open the windows for a security system check, then directed her to walk around the house. The moment the housekeeper entered the study, Roland's signal instantly jumped to full bars, clearly indicating that Scylla was hidden in this room. Roland immediately started the data copying program, but the transfer would take 2 minutes, so Michael had to find a way to keep the housekeeper from leaving the room.
The source of our problem, if you could just stay at that particular window and hold it closed while we reset the system, that should do it.
Thanks to Michael's smooth talking, the Scylla data was finally copied. Now, all they had to do was to retrieve the receiver successfully. However, Lincoln noticed that for some reason, the housekeeper turned back before leaving the door. But fortunately, she came back out with the backpack after 15 seconds. Now it was Mahone's turn to step up, but he hesitated several times to snatch the bag and couldn't bring himself to do it. Bellick, unable to stand by and watch any longer, snatched the housekeeper's backpack and bolted.
Wait here!
Actually had to slow down not to catch you. I think I pulled a groin.
Yet, after rummaging through the backpack again and again, they couldn't find the receiver. A reluctant Mahone had no choice but to return the bag. Back at the base, everyone looked as glum as frostbitten eggplants. Suddenly, Michael remembered that the housekeeper had turned back before leaving. This meant she likely discovered the device that resembled a smartphone and, thinking it belonged to her employer, put it back in the room.
Well then guess what, fellas? It's game over.
You know how many months it took me to make that thing, Michael? What, you just think I could whip up another one in a couple of seconds?
Losing it is not the problem. If they find it, that's the problem.
They find out someone was after that card, we're done.
What do you mean done? What does that mean? Does it mean we're gonna go back to prison? Is they gonna kill us? What the hell is that?
They were back to square one, and this time, they had no way out. Even if it meant entering the dragon's den, they had to retrieve the receiver tonight. According to their investigation, the house's alarm would sound within 2 seconds of an illegal entry, and then 47 armed guards would immediately storm the house, making escape impossible. Michael re-examined the villa's architectural blueprints, mapping out each guard's position, trying to find even the slightest flaw. After constant deliberation, he finally thought of a daring plan. In the wee hours, the escape team split into 2 groups. Sucre and Lincoln broke into the villa opposite Stuart's. forcefully prying open the door. As soon as the alarm went off, Stewart's guards were immediately on alert, rushing to the door to check. Meanwhile, Stewart was awakened by the shrill alarm, thinking it was his own, so he quickly turned off his home's alarm system, while Mahone and Michael lurked nearby. Taking advantage of the moment Stewart turned off the security system, they slipped into the house and successfully took the receiver from the table. When Stewart went out to inquire, he learned it was the thief in the neighbor's house, but by the time he restarted the security system, Michael and Mahone had already quietly slipped out of the villa. Back at the base, everyone was incredibly excited. Having Scylla meant they were one step closer to true freedom, but their celebration was premature. When Roland decoded the receiver, he found that the data was a bunch of gibberish. After repeated analysis, they realized that this data card was just a small part of the entire Scylla data. It was like a piece of pizza, and what they got was just one slice. In other words, Scylla was divided into several parts, held by different people. Only by collecting all of them could they access the real Scylla data, take down the company, and achieve true freedom.
How many do you give it to?
Okay, that quote your father held on to? In the Odyssey, Scylla is a six-headed monster that requires a sacrifice of 6 soldiers in order to pass.
So Scylla isn't one card. It's 6.
In the world, there exists an invisible prison far more terrifying than any physical one, and this group of people is deeply ensnared in such an intangible cage. To clear their names, for freedom, and to avenge their son, the escape crew reunites once again, all to bring down the omnipotent and mysterious organization the company and secure everlasting peace for themselves and their families. But to dismantle the company, they must obtain 6 Scylla data cards. Yet currently, they possess only one, with the whereabouts of the remaining 5 completely unknown. Worse still, the team's linchpin, Michael, seems to have contracted a rare disease, casting a shadow over their path. Can they dismantle the company and break free from this cage? Michael finds Don and gives him a good scolding. We agreed on 1 card, but now it's turned into 6. Are you playing us for fools? Don was equally taken aback, never anticipating the complexity of the situation. Yet he stood firm. Our deal was Scylla for your freedom, whether it's 6 or 600 cards. If you can't get Scylla, you're going straight back to prison. Don also issued a dire ultimatum to Michael to secure the remaining 5 cards within 5 days. Don was under duress himself, bearing the pressure from his NSA superior, Herb. Upon learning there were 6 Scylla cards, Herb realized this was nearly an impossible task. Any slip-up could expose them to the company's insiders within the government, leaving them clueless about their own demise, prompting Herb to abort this secret mission. Meanwhile, Michael and his folks were completely in the dark, still analyzing Stewart, trying to extract information about the other 5 cardholders from him. Fortunately, during their last operation, Roland's receiver not only copied a portion of Scylla but also accidentally duplicated several emails from Stewart's computer. The emails were about inviting Stewart to a meeting in London, scheduled for today at 4 p.m. Oddly, it's almost 4 p.m., and Stewart is still in Los Angeles with no record of him purchasing a flight ticket. With years of detective experience, Mahone suggested the email could be a cipher. Michael instantly connected the dots, taking the first letter of each word, which spelled out Scylla. It seems likely Stewart is meeting with the other Scylla holders today. In other words, this is an excellent opportunity to learn about the other cardholders. But where exactly is the meeting place? The email also included an advertisement for a virility supplement and an invitation to an astronomy club, both seemingly unrelated to the meeting location. Using the invitation's celestial coordinates to calculate, the result pointed to the Antarctic state. Clearly impossible. Just as they were at a loss, Sucre and Bellic, who were monitoring Stewart outside, suddenly found themselves surrounded by federal agents.
Hands up! Hands where I can see. Oh my God, this ain't good. I got him up! I got him up! Put your hands up, Sucre. Come on, man. Who you calling? Put your hands up. They're gonna shoot a weapon. Come on, put your hands up. Okay. Don't shoot. Don't shoot, man. We're all right.
Simultaneously, Roland's computer was locked down. Clearly, the NSA had begun to move. Fearing being implicated and not trusting a few fugitives to handle the situation, they decided to abort the mission and send them back to prison. Luckily, Michael received a text from Sucre in time, forcing the group to flee hastily. On the road, Michael tried to persuade Don to give him a bit more time, but this was a decision from Don's boss's boss. and he had no choice but to follow orders. Because Don had placed an ankle bracelet on everyone's feet before they went on the secret mission, Michael and his crew had no choice but to sneak into the underground tunnels to temporarily block the tracking signal from their anklets. But staying here was not a long-term plan. Michael was still trying to find clues in 2 emails. Suddenly, overlapping advertisements on the wall gave him an epiphany, making Michael realize that the 2 emails might need to be looked at together. He immediately took a nail from nearby, scratched the frame of the star chart, and placed it on an advertisement for male vitality.
New Beach.
There's a power plant in Newport Beach. That's your meeting.
We ain't got long until 4 o'clock. How the hell are we gonna get out of here?
How fast?
Without delay, they hijacked a taxi and rushed to the power station, while agents from the National Security Bureau relentlessly pursued them based on their location. As they neared the power station, to buy Michael more time, Lincoln, Mahone, and Sarah ran in different directions. Eventually, they were captured, and Michael took the opportunity to escape and head straight to the cardholders' meeting point. As expected, all 6 cardholders were present, and Michael quickly took out his phone to sneakily capture photos. Soon after, Don took everyone except Michael to a warehouse. Just as he was about to send them all to prison, Michael arrived, driving the taxi nonchalantly.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't be able to give you this. Press the video function. It wasn't a meeting between 2 Scylla cardholders, Agent Self. It was a meeting between all 6 cardholders. So now we know who has the other 5 cards, and that should mean something. Even to someone whose word means nothing.
This was the first time Don witnessed Michael's formidable abilities. They had secretly investigated the company for over a decade with no breakthroughs. Yet Michael managed to capture a photo of the 6 heads together within just a few days. Suddenly, Don had a bargaining chip. He bypassed his superiors and directly contacted a senator, who agreed to give them one more chance. Thus, the escape team was released, but they were only given 5 days. Without delay, Michael immediately started studying the photos. Don suddenly recognized one of the cardholders in the photo as extremely familiar. It was Griffin, the Minister of Finance, who worked in the same building as him. After all, they are on the same rope. Don decided to do it himself. Don grabbed the receiver, claiming a mysterious organization was manipulating bonds, and barged into Griffin's office, vividly describing the urgent situation. However, the receiver did not detect the presence of the data card. Griffin asked Don to leave and make an appointment, then opened a cabinet. It was a very sophisticated safe with a triangular loop symbol on it. When Griffin entered the password and fingerprint, Roland's signal instantly went full, indicating the second data card was inside. But copying the data card required 2 minutes. When Griffin placed something inside and immediately closed the cabinet door, the copying process was abruptly halted. Griffin told Don, "I'm flying to Asia in 6 hours. Let's talk when I get back. If you dare to barge into my office again, I won't be so polite." After hearing about the situation from Don, Michael asked him for a blueprint of the building. It seems it was time to return to old tricks.